Green and white family, listen up, things are heating up in Philly. The team is making noise again, and the latest moves have every fan's heart racing. Every decision, every trade, every adjustment on defense and offense could change the course of this season, and we're breaking it all down right here, together, with passion and grit, just like every true Eagles fan. So before we dive in, smash that like button, because it helps this channel fly even higher, and my friends, drop a comment below. Do you think Howie Roseman is giving it his best? Now hold tight, because we've got intense analysis, raw emotion, and that unstoppable Philadelphia spirit coming your way. Let's do this, because Eagles are fight, heart, and green to the end. The Philadelphia Eagles have been making waves again, and this time the conversation among fans is buzzing around several key moves and potential trades that could shape the rest of the season. After the acquisition of Michael Carter, discussions exploded over what this means for the defense and how Vic Fangio plans to deploy his corners. Many fans were curious about how this trade affects Cooper DeJean and the rest of the secondary, especially since Fangio has been experimenting with defensive alignments that push DeJean more to the outside. The expectation now is that Michael Carter will solidify that nickel position. With over 85% of his career snaps coming from the slot, Carter brings a ton of experience there, more than 60 games played and around 25 starts. It's hard to imagine the Eagles trading for a player like him just to move him outside when his strength has always been inside coverage. This move gives the Eagles flexibility. Fangio seems to be focusing on giving the defense versatility and depth. A likely combination could see DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell holding the edges with Carter locking down the inside. Carter's quickness, 4.3 speed, and agility make him ideal for handling slot receivers, though his smaller frame might limit him on the perimeter. Still, it's an interesting fit for a defense that's been looking to tighten things up and adapt to the speed-heavy offenses across the NFC. Fans have also been debating another hot topic, whether the team should make another aggressive trade, this time for a pass rusher like Jermaine Johnson. The idea of sending a 3rd and 4th round pick back to the Jets has some appeal considering Johnson's upside. He's a 26-year-old, 6 feet 5 inches, 262-pound defensive end with size, toughness, and a good motor. Despite tearing his Achilles last year, he's showing signs of returning to form this season, logging 14 pressures, 11 hurries, and a sack so far. His run defense and physicality are exactly what this Eagles front could use. Plus, he's familiar with several players from Georgia, which would make the locker room chemistry even better. And speaking of trades, Howie Roseman once again finds himself in an enviable position with draft capital. For 2026, the Eagles have 3 third-round picks, including one from the Jets and a compensatory selection from Milton Williams' move to the Patriots, plus 2 fourth-rounders, and several mid- to late-round options. If Roseman wants to make another deal, the ammunition is there. That's the kind of front office management that has defined his tenure, always keeping options open without mortgaging the future. But it's not just about trades and defense. There's been plenty of talk about the offense too. Some fans have wondered about wide receiver depth and how the team handled Jahan Dotson versus John Mechie. With Dotson's contract situation looming, many asked whether the Eagles should have held on to Mechie instead. But when you look closely, the choice makes sense. Dotson has consistently stepped up in crucial moments, whether it was catching the first playoff touchdown against Green Bay, hauling in that 50-yard bomb from Jalen Hurts against Dallas, or making key plays early in the Super Bowl. He's proven his reliability. He's a professional, never complaining about his role, even though he sits behind A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, 2 established number 1 receivers. It's rare in today's NFL to see a wideout stay composed and team-oriented in that kind of situation. Most receivers want targets and spotlight, but Dotson is focused on results. That's earned him respect in the locker room and among fans. He knows he's part of a stacked offense with Barkley getting heavy touches and Dallas Goedert having one of his best seasons. That's what championship depth looks like. Players who buy in, stay ready, and deliver when the moment comes. On the topic of offense, the backfield has drawn some speculation too, with A.J. Dillon being a healthy scratch the past couple of weeks and Tank Bigsby earning more carries. Questions about Dillon's future are heating up. Will the Eagles look to move him, maybe even to a team like the Patriots, who are reportedly shopping for a running back? It's not far-fetched. Dillon still brings leadership, experience, and that downhill power style that Bill Belichick has always loved in Foxborough. It would make sense for both sides, especially with younger, faster options like Will Shipley emerging as more dynamic contributors. Meanwhile, some fans can't stop talking about officiating, especially after that Giants game. The tush-push play remains under scrutiny, with some saying the refs favor the Birds. But as Chase Sr. pointed out, When you slow every play in the NFL down to frame-by-frame analysis, you'll see early movement all the time, on both sides of the ball. Calling everything by the millisecond would make football unwatchable. And let's be honest, the officiating in that Giants matchup was messy for both teams. There were bad calls that hurt the Giants, but also questionable ones that went against the Eagles, including the reverse Jackson Dart fumble and Kobe Dean being blatantly blocked in the back. In the end, it balanced out, as it usually does. One of the more emotional storylines has been CJ Gardner-Johnson signing with the Bears. A lot of fans were heartbroken, and understandably so. Gardner-Johnson brought swagger, physicality, and leadership to the Eagles' defense, 12 interceptions in just 28 games. That's elite production. He helped define the energy of this team. But it's clear that after some friction in the locker room, the front office wanted to move on. The silver lining? He'll be back in Philly on Black Friday when the Bears face the Eagles, and you can bet that matchup will carry some fire. Gardner-Johnson reuniting with Dennis Allen in Chicago makes sense. Allen knows exactly how to use him as a hybrid safety slot defender, and the Bears desperately needed that kind of edge. So, as things stand, the Eagles have fortified the secondary with Michael Carter, have key reinforcements like Brandon Graham and Nolan Smith coming back after the bye, and still have the flexibility to pull off another trade if needed. With the team sitting in a strong position and the roster only getting deeper, it's hard not to feel excited about what's coming next. Because when you think about it, that question defines where this team is heading. The Eagles are in a position that every franchise dreams of, contending while still holding future draft power and roster depth. But how much do you risk to chase another Lombardi? That's the ongoing debate inside the Novacare complex and among every fan who bleeds midnight green. If they make another move for a pass rusher like Jermaine Johnson, it could instantly elevate the defensive front, but it might also mean parting ways with valuable draft assets. Still, Howie Roseman has built a reputation on being aggressive when the opportunity fits the team's identity. He's not shy about going all in when he believes the move will push them closer to another Super Bowl run. Right now, the defensive picture is evolving fast. Fangio's system has already started to show flashes of the discipline and creativity that made his name one of the most respected in football. Having a versatile secondary with players like Carter, Dejon, and Quinyon Mitchell allows him to disguise coverage, show blitz, and then drop back into complex zones that frustrate even elite quarterbacks. And when you consider what's coming after the bye, Brandon Graham and Nolan Smith returning fresh, it's like adding two new weapons without giving up anything. Graham's leadership and experience paired with Smith's explosive speed could give that front seven a much-needed jolt down the stretch. Offensively, the Eagles look loaded but not without their decisions to make. Saquon Barkley has been everything they hoped for and more. His ability to catch out of the backfield, pick up blitzes, and grind out tough yards has added a new dimension to Jalen Hurts' offense. But behind him, the situation feels fluid. Tank Bigsby has earned his touches, showing bursts of power and vision that remind fans of young LeGarrette Blount. And then there's Will Shipley, the rookie who's proven that he's not just depth, he's potential. The team loves his energy, and his skill set gives them another dynamic option if they want to rotate fresh legs or mix up looks. So where does that leave A.J. Dillon? That's where the business side of football comes in. He's respected, a great locker room guy, but in this offense, it's about explosiveness and versatility. Dillon might find more opportunities elsewhere, maybe even in New England where his bruising style would fit the cold weather identity of the Patriots. It wouldn't be surprising if that trade happens before the deadline, especially if it opens a spot for a younger back to get more snaps. On the topic of chemistry, it's impossible not to mention how strong this locker room has become. Jalen Hurts has maintained his steady leadership, never too high or too low, keeping the team focused on consistency and execution. A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith continue to prove why they're the best wide receiver duo in the NFC, maybe even the NFL. Brown's physical dominance and Smith's precision route running complement each other perfectly. Add in Jahan Dotson, who's quietly one of the most underrated receivers in the league, and you've got a trio that keeps defensive coordinators up at night. What stands out most is how unselfish Dotson has been. He's a former first-rounder who knows his role might not bring the same volume of targets as it would elsewhere. Yet, when his number is called, he delivers touchdowns in playoff games, explosive deep catches, and clutch conversions. That's the kind of mentality championship teams need. Players who don't demand attention but earn it. And let's not forget Dallas Goedert. He's playing some of the best football of his career right now, not just as a receiver but as an all-around tight end who blocks, chips, and opens lanes for Barkley. Every week he's proving he belongs among the elite at his position. The offense is functioning with rhythm and depth, something that makes them so difficult to defend. Defensively, However, questions still remain. Can Fangio's group sustain consistency against high-tempo offenses? The answer might depend on whether Howie decides to add that extra edge rusher. If not, the return of veterans could still balance things out. Jermaine Johnson remains the dream target, but the front office could easily opt to stand pat, trusting that the rotation led by Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, and Nolan Smith will be enough to get the job done. And then there's the emotional layer of this season, the C.J. Gardner-Johnson storyline. His departure to Chicago still stings for fans who loved his fire. Few players embodied Philly's attitude like C.D. Deuce did. He played with emotion, toughness, and that edge that made him a perfect Eagle. But the locker room tension and previous issues made another reunion impossible. Now, with him joining Dennis Allen in Chicago, the Bears get the swagger they desperately need, and the Eagles get to move forward without the noise. That Black Friday game in Philadelphia is already circled on everyone's calendar, and you can expect fireworks when Gardner-Johnson steps back into Lincoln Financial Field. At the end of the day, everything about this Eagles team screams potential and purpose. The roster is deep, the leadership is stable, and the culture feels unshakable. Whether it's Howie's next move or Fangio's evolving scheme, the Birds have positioned themselves perfectly for another run. Every piece, every player, every adjustment seems to serve a single goal: staying dominant and bringing another championship home to Philly. So, with the trade window still open and the Eagles poised for another deep push, the question I'll throw to you, the real heartbeat of this team, the fans, is this: if you were in Howie Roseman's shoes, would you pull the trigger on another big move, or ride with the roster that's already built to fly? Let me know your thoughts down below. And before you go, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for daily Eagles updates, and stay tuned, because we've got plenty more coverage coming your way, right here on Eagles Now.